There is a reason your heart still feels heavy. There is a reason you still think about them even after the door closed. There is a reason you're trying to move on, but something inside you isn't letting go. It's not because you are weak. It's not because you are stuck. And it's not because you can't live without them. It's because Allah is trying to show you something. A message hidden inside the pain. A lesson buried inside the silence. A transformation taking place in the places no one can see. So before you click away, ask yourself this. Why would Allah let your heart feel something so deep only to take that person away? Why would Allah connect two souls only to separate them? Why did the story feel unfinished? There is a reason. And if you stay with me, if you listen till the end, you will understand why Allah allowed the connection and why He wrote the separation. This is not just a video. This is the part of your story you never understood until now. Stay. Allah saw what you endured quietly. There are moments in life where you were smiling on the outside, but inside something was slowly breaking. People saw the way you were always there. They saw how you tried to make everything okay. They saw your patience, your warmth, your effort, but they never really saw you. They did not see the nights you stayed awake thinking, why does it feel like I am giving everything but receiving nothing back? They did not see the tears you wiped quietly before prayer. They did not see how heavy your chest felt when you whispered, Ya Allah, I'm tired, but I'm still trying. You carried so much alone. You forgave things that hurt you deeply because you loved with sincerity. You chose silence instead of arguments because you wanted peace, not victory. You showed care even when you were the one who needed it most. Allah saw that. He saw every moment you felt unseen. He saw every effort that went unnoticed. He saw every time you gave without being appreciated. He saw every time your heart bent, but you still stayed gentle. You thought nobody understood your pain, but your Lord did. When you cried quietly on your pillow, when you held your tears so no one would worry, when your voice broke in dua, even though you tried to speak normally, Allah heard you. Not a single tear was wasted. Not a single sigh was ignored. Not a single heartbreak was overlooked. So when Allah took you away from certain people, places, and situations, it was not rejection. It was mercy. He knew you wouldn't leave unless your heart was breaking. He knew you would keep trying even when it hurt. He knew your loyalty was stronger than your pain. So He stepped in. He separated you from what was slowly draining your soul. He pulled you out of what was hurting you behind your back. He removed you from what was not protecting your heart. It wasn't abandonment. It was Allah saying, my beloved servant, your heart has carried enough. Come closer to me now. Let me heal you. Your story didn't break. Your story turned toward Him. And whatever turns toward Allah is never lost. Sometimes you wonder why people didn't notice your pain. Why they didn't ask, are you okay? Why they didn't see the heaviness in your eyes. But understand something gently. Not everyone is meant to understand your heart. Not everyone is capable of recognizing a soul like yours. Some people only see what is obvious. They do not see what is sacred. Your heart has always been deeper than your words. Your pain was something you carried quietly, not because you were weak, but because you didn't want to burden anyone. You loved in a way that was rare. You forgave more than you should have. You stayed longer than others would have stayed. You gave chances even when your heart was shaking. And Allah saw that. He saw how you kept caring even when it hurt. He saw how you stayed kind even when you felt forgotten. He saw how you protected others from pain even while you were hurting yourself. This is why Allah will never leave you empty. You will not walk through your sadness alone. You will not heal alone. You will not rebuild your heart alone. Allah is closer to you now than ever before. Every time you felt like you had no one, you had Allah. Every time you held your tears, Allah held your heart. Every time you whispered, Ya Allah, He was already near. Your pain was not unnoticed. Your silence was not ignored. It was written, it was witnessed. It was sacred. And this is why the ending had to happen. This is why Allah pulled you away. This is why He closed the doors you kept knocking on, not to punish you, not to take love away from you, but to save the love inside you from being destroyed. There are some hearts Allah protects with separation. Yours is one of them. You are not forgotten. You are not replaceable. You are not invisible. You are seen. You are held. You are loved by Allah in a way deeper than any human love could ever reach. And when Allah holds your heart, you never lose anything worth keeping. Your leaving was not weakness. You did not leave because your heart stopped caring. You left because your heart was hurting too quietly for too long. You stayed longer than most people would have. You tried more than anyone knew. You forgave things that broke you in places people never saw. And still you stayed. Not because you were blind, not because you were foolish, but because you loved with sincerity. You loved with honesty. You loved with loyalty. But sincerity can only survive so long. Where it is not honored, there comes a moment where your heart whispers, I cannot carry this alone anymore. And that whisper is not weakness. It is Allah guiding you toward peace. Walking away does not mean you stopped loving. It means you finally started loving yourself too. You held on until your hands were tired. You remained patient until your chest felt heavy. You gave chances even when your heart was begging for rest. Leaving was not giving up. Leaving was choosing to protect your soul. If love is making your heart smaller, if care is making your spirit hollow, if loyalty is breaking you from the inside, then walking away is an act of faith. You did not leave to prove something. You did not leave to make someone regret. You did not leave to punish anyone. You left because Allah was calling your heart back to Him. Sometimes Allah allows your heart to break so He can rebuild it closer to Him. Sometimes He separates you so He can save you. Your absence is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign that your heart finally remembered its dignity. It is a sign that your soul finally remembered its worth. It is a sign that Allah said, my beloved servant, you deserve peace. Do not let anyone convince you that leaving was failure. The one who walks away with gentleness is stronger than the one who stays in harm. You left with your character intact. You left without bitterness. You left with grace instead of hatred. And Allah will honor that. Your leaving was not the end of your story. It was the moment your story began to heal. You didn't walk away in a moment. It was not sudden. It was not impulsive. Your heart held on long after it was tired. You tried to fix what was hurting you. You tried to explain your feelings with kindness. You tried to stay patient, hoping something would change. But Allah sees the heart. He knows when it is reaching its breaking point. And sometimes Allah removes you, not because you wanted to leave, but because He knew you would never leave on your own. He saw how they ignored your pain. He saw how your needs were always postponed. He saw how your voice started fading because you kept silencing yourself so others could be comfortable. You stopped asking for things you once deserved. You lowered your expectations just to avoid disappointment. You learned to smile through pain so no one would feel guilty. Allah knew this was slowly destroying you, so He stepped in. Leaving was not a moment of weakness. It was a moment of Allah's mercy covering your heart. You may still think of them. You may still feel something when memories return. Healing does not erase attachment instantly. Healing takes time, and Allah is patient with you in that journey. Do not be ashamed of how deeply you cared. Do not regret the love you gave. Do not think you were foolish for staying as long as you did. Your love was real. Your effort was sincere. Your intentions were pure. These are qualities of a good heart, and good hearts are never lost in the sight of Allah. One day, when the pain has softened, you will look back and say, I left with dignity. I left with kindness. I left without hatred. I left because my heart needed Allah. And that is not weakness. That is strength that not everyone has. You did not leave empty-handed. You left with lessons, wisdom, and a heart that is learning to love itself again. And Allah will refill your heart with something far more beautiful than what was taken. Your story is not over. Your story is just beginning. In a place where your heart will finally be honored. Your silence will say what your words could not. There are times when words no longer work. No matter how much you explain, they do not hear you. No matter how softly you speak, they do not understand you. No matter how clearly you express your needs, they act as if they are heavy demands. So eventually, your heart grows quiet. Not because you stop feeling, but because you realized your heart was speaking to people who were not ready to listen. Your silence was not emptiness. It was the final truth. Your silence said, I cared, I tried, I listened, I gave, but I cannot continue alone. Silence is powerful. It holds a mirror in front of those who took your presence for granted. When your voice is no longer there, they begin to feel the emptiness. They begin to notice the quiet. They begin to realize that the peace they once had was coming from you. It is only when you stop speaking that they finally hear your absence. Your silence becomes a teacher. Your absence becomes the lesson. They will remember how you always listened carefully, how you understood even when they didn't explain, how you stayed patient even when they were careless, how your presence softened their life without them noticing. When you leave with silence, you leave with dignity. There is no argument, no blame, no loud exit, just quiet truth. You did not need to prove your worth with words. You did not need to convince anyone to value your heart. You did not need to show your pain to be understood. Your silence itself was the message, and Allah is witness to that silence. He knows the tears that fall without sound. He knows the prayers that come without words. He knows the emotions that sit heavy on the chest when your heart tries to stay strong. Sometimes silence is the language of the wounded, but it is also the language of the wise, because silence gives Allah room to speak for you. Your silence invites Allah to defend you, to clarify what was misunderstood, to reveal what was hidden, to bring justice in ways your voice never could. And one day, when they think back, they will say, Ga ama antu hudi. I did not lose them because they had nothing to say. I lost them because I did not listen when their heart was speaking. Your silence was never weakness. It was your soul choosing peace over noise. Sometimes silence is not what you choose. It is what your heart is forced into. You tried speaking before. You tried opening your heart. You tried explaining how you felt. Not once, not twice, but many times. But every time you spoke, your words were brushed aside. Your hurt was minimized. Your emotions were called too much. So your heart learned something. There is no point in speaking where you are not heard. So you went quiet. Not because you stopped caring, but because your caring was being dismissed. Your silence was not coldness, it was exhaustion. Your silence said, I am tired of being strong alone. And that silence, it is louder than any words you ever said. Because silence makes a person face themselves. When your messages stop, when your presence is no longer there, when your warmth no longer fills their space, they begin to feel a discomfort. They cannot explain. They begin to search for what is missing. They begin to realize that your presence was holding things together far more than they ever noticed.